Nazis, Colombians, mummers!
Oh my! Let's go on a Christmas adventure. Hello and welcome to Capricious Conversations. Today, we are going to do a Christmas edition of our Truly Bizarre. Just when you thought that the most bizarre thing about Christmas was your family.
My family was pretty bizarre at Christmas.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, Christmas evolved into the day when we eat sausage fondue and cabbage burgers.
Both are amazing. They
were really good, but I cannot figure out why.
Sausage fondue doesn't immediately scream Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Nor does cabbage burger to me. I mean, it smells like feet are cooking somewhere in the house, but you know.
So yummy though.
These things happen. Anyway.
Okay, so we are going to talk about some bizarre things that happened around Christmas or our Christmas traditions, but that just are really very strange. Are you going to join us for a minute? Okay, come on then.
Oh.
Come on then. Come on.
So you can hear Jackie the cat
tapped on
is
Hanukkah light.
Is talking to us during the filming of this episode here.
Well, come if you
She may make an appearance.
She might.
At any rate.
All right, so in Newfoundland, and actually, okay, so this tradition dates way back to the Roman Empire.
Okay, what tradition is it?
It is called mumming or mummering, and it is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, honestly. Okay, so people like take mummering. They take like white pillowcases and sheets and stuff, and they cut out a mouth hole and two eye holes, and they stick it on their heads.
Like a ghost.
A little bit, but then they
Halloween.
like kind of paint some facial features on it. And it used to be that they would go around from house to house dancing and try and get money from people. Basically.
to pay them to leave?
Yeah, for real. But it actually, so for like 100 years, it was banned in Newfoundland because they would have a mummering parade.
Yeah.
But it was loud and totally rowdy, and somebody actually got killed at a mummering parade.
So they like get lit? Like was there drinking involved?
No, they're just like really violent, and it's
just rowdy people.
Yeah, just really rowdy, and so.
So this is Newfoundland. So this is going to be.
Yeah. So they still do like performance visits to people's house, and they do this play, and there's usually a bad guy who gets killed by a good guy, and then they still ask for money.
Merry Christmas, we murdered somebody.
But even that was banned for a while because it ended up getting violent in people's homes, and they would like
good gracious
hurt people. And so, but yeah, up until like the 1950s, like post World War II era, mummering was quite a violent and
that's crazy
unfriendly thing to have happen.
Was it like we've got to be nice tomorrow, get your killing in tonight?
I don't know exactly.
Kind of like an early 1900s purge.
Now, of course, it's not really violent. Now it's mostly fun. And they're supposed to like, people are supposed to guess who the performers are. But it sounds like a really like. That's pretty bizarre, guys.
You know, there is some old weird stuff that comes with Christmas. Like, you know, in Germany they have Krampus.
Yes.
Who goes around and punishes killers, and he's like a demon, and he's like freaky.
Well, yeah, and I think I talked about it on last episode, the Polish starman who does the same thing.
Yeah,
he brings birch rods for you to beat people with.
Freaks people out. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Weird. Yeah. Hope you were good this year, because if you weren't and you're in Europe, you get beat. Well, you know the poem "Night Before Christmas," right? Of course, it's called "A Visit from Saint Nick." I mean, I think that's technically the title.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
we always say it was the night before Christmas. Do you know who wrote it?
Yeah, well, I do because it's in front of me.
Yeah, because you have the note.
Yeah, Clement Clarke Moore.
Clement Clarke Moore. So Clement Clarke Moore wrote it, and the thing about Clement Clarke Moore was he was actually a very serious poet. Mm-hmm. I mean, he took great pride in his poetry, and he wrote very serious poetry. This is just one of the many.
There she is.
There's Jackie, the Christmas cat. Hi, Jackie.
She's not the new addition for Christmas decorations. Just FYI, so you got to keep your eyes peeled for something else that's going on with it.
At any rate, so he was very serious about his poetry. So he wrote this kind of as a one-off. He wrote it for his family, and somewhere along the way, somebody heard it or found it and decided that should be made public.
Okay.
So it got published. He was ticked. I mean, he was really upset. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. In fact, for nearly 15 years, he denied that he wrote it.
Hey now.
She's eating
All right.
the Christmas decorations.
Go off the table. Bye.
Bye, cat.
Bye, cat.
Quit being a
Bye,
cat. For nearly 15 years, he denied that he even wrote it.
Oh,
He wouldn't take
gosh.
ownership of it because he considered it way below his abilities. He thought it was crap.
I'm gonna have to do
And
that later.
there you
Thanks,
go.
Jackie.
Christmas decoration ruined by the Christmas kitty. So he took his inspiration apparently from a pudgy Dutch driver who took his family on a sleigh ride. And it was a friend of his that sent it to the newspaper. So
That's kinda sad.
finally his kids come to him and they're like, you wrote this, you need to take credit for it. Partially because you could make money
Well,
off of this thing.
that's wise.
You know, and you could be publishing it. So finally, after like 15 years, he took credit for it and they published it under his name. But he was, for the rest of his life, he was like really unhappy that that's what he was going to be known for, was this crappy Christmas poem that he
everybody
didn't even
loves,
want to write. And now it's
though.
great. You know, everybody knows it. So there
That's
you go.
so funny. So he just like wrote it for his kids and was
Yeah, he
trying
just
to
wrote
be
it for his
silly.
family. Was trying to be silly, and you know, it was just a little
But it's kind of beautiful.
Thing that
so there you go.
he threw out. So
Beautiful
Clement
on
Clarkmore,
accident.
thank you. Merry Christmas. Sorry, we really like it.
During World War II, and actually a little bit before, when the Nazis were coming to power in Germany,
Because
they
nothing says Christmas like Nazis.
right. They tried to turn Christmas into a non-religious holiday celebrating the coming of Hitler.
What?
Yes.
Well, now, okay, so we've talked about this a little bit. The Nazis were known for trying to, like, rebrand holidays and rebrand.
Okay, well, here's the thing
Christian
with the Nazis.
things, yeah.
Yes, people have gotten it wrong a lot in history books, and they'll say that Nazis were like, it was like a Christian thing that they were going around and killing
absolutely
Jews.
not.
It was definitely not.
Absolutely not.
They were like, in fact, actually, Himmler.
Heinrich Himmler.
Heinrich Himmler said that Christianity was a disease, and actually was like, it was because it stemmed from the Jewish religion. It was like, it was this horrible thing, and he viewed it as like a poisoning to
It was made
the
to bring
Aryan
about
culture.
the downfall of the Aryan race.
And
Yeah.
so he was like, no, Aryan, Germanic, Norse culture
Celtic, yeah, he was very into
is what
that.
it is. And so they were definitely not Christians. They were completely occultic, actually. And so they decided that this would be the celebrating of the coming of Hitler, and it replaced,
Hitler Claus, everybody.
well, they replaced St. Nicholas with Odin, the solstice man. Who is
Odin?
in fact, who is a Norse god,
Odin.
interestingly enough. And they were trying to put swastikas on the top of Christmas trees.
No, okay, so to be fair, the swastika wasn't originally, I mean, we associate it with the Nazi Party today, but originally it was on monasteries and things like that. It was just a stylized,
It was a stylized cross, like the
Cross.
Celtic cross. But,
Yeah.
now it's...
it's
Which is
become a symbol
another
of the
thing
Nazi
that people
Party.
try
Yeah.
and use to say that he was a Christian. He was not. He was just boarded at a monastery.
Yeah. Crazy. So, yeah. No,
Thank
no
goodness.
correlation between Hitler and Santa Claus.
No, and thank goodness the Nazis didn't win, because I like, stars and angels on the top of the
Right?
Christmas tree.
Much better. Well, speaking of Nazis, so in World War II, of course, many people were captured on both sides.
Right.
Lots of prisoners of war, and a lot of our guys got shot down. Stuff like they were
Right.
taken to German camps.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, what's the old show? Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah,
it wasn't
it
like
was
that at
not
all.
like
It was a very,
that.
very terrible place.
Concentration camps were not actually fun places. Go
Yeah.
figure.
That's just the way it worked. But, so interesting. So, you've heard of bicycle cards, right?
Uh-huh,
If you've,
yeah,
if you've
cards.
ever
I
played
mean,
card games, we like to play gin rummy, we like to play some of the games. But, so Bicycle Cards manufactures cards. So, back in, during World War II in the early 1940s, they had manufactured a set of playing cards that they would send out to the GIs. They were very cheap. Well, the thing about this deck of cards was that there was one particular card that if you soaked it in water, the top would come off of it, and underneath was actually a map.
That's awesome.
And they didn't tell anybody about this. I think they had told someone in the armed forces somehow to communicate it secretly, but the Germans certainly didn't know. And so they sent these in care packages to these POWs, which according to
That's
the Geneva
awesome.
Convention they had to let through.
Right.
And so the Germans were importing all these escape maps
That's awesome.
for these GIs. So they would soak
great.
this bicycle card in water, and there was an escape route or a couple of escape routes on there, and they would go through them, and that's how they were able to
That's way
to
cool.
find some of the stuff. And they had like tips and tricks on how to do that. So they distributed them to every POW in Germany.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons that Bicycle is such a popular card maker now. Like, it's like the only card maker.
Just about. There's a couple
I'm sure there
others.
are
I think
others,
maybe
but,
Hoyle
like,
makes some,
mostly
but
Bicycle.
Bicycle's the one that makes the vast majority of the cards. But yeah, pretty sneaky. I think that was a great
Sneaky.
idea.
Way to
You
go,
know?
Bicycle.
It's like sending files in the cake to every German
Right?
prisoner, you know?
For real.
Yeah.
I love ending on high notes, so, which is, yeah.
But we're not ending. And I'm not the fat lady.
No. For our last couple, though, actually that last one was pretty awesome too.
That was pretty good.
But for our last ones, they're a little bit strange, but they are pretty awesome, and so it will hopefully restore your faith in Christmas and humanity. During Christmas of 2010, so this is recently,
Yes?
the Colombian government covered jungle trees with Christmas lights.
Really?
Yes, and when the gorillas walked by, they were like on motion sensors, and so when the gorillas walked by, the trees lit up, and they would have messages like, "Lay down your weapons," like, "Rejoin us," and
Seriously?
Yeah,
There was a little bit of Christmas propaganda there.
a little bit of Christmas propaganda, but they like covered jungles with this
That's
stuff.
amazing.
And so they would see all these things, and actually, it totally worked. And so, like, the spirit of Christmas turned 331 gorillas, laid down their weapons, and re-entered society
Seriously?
because they covered jungle trees with Christmas lights.
Seriously?
Yes,
The happiest jungle on earth.
for real.
Amazing. The
Yeah.
spirit of Christmas.
Exactly.
That's cool, actually.
Brotherly love, reconciliation.
And Christmas lights.
What more can you
Never
ask?
underestimate the power of Christmas lights, ladies and gentlemen. Very important. Well, to finish, I've got one of my most favorite stories of all time.
Okay.
And I've heard about this quite a bit, but I'd never really looked at it until we were getting ready for tonight, so I took a little bit of time to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's commonly called the Christmas Truce. This was during the First World War. It was during the year 1914.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very early in the First World War.
yeah, early in the First World War. Well, so in the First World War, it was horrible type of warfare. It was
Yeah,
trench
it's
warfare.
terrible.
And modern warfare hadn't really been invented yet. In fact, it was at the end of World War I when mechanized warfare and the advances
Right.
came about, because it used to be you'd form up in groups and you'd stand a little ways apart from each other and you'd shoot until nobody had anybody left standing, and then the person with most people left would win. And that's pretty much the way it worked. And so
Right.
trench warfare in World War I was very much the same way. They would dig these trenches and they'd lob bullets and grenades at the enemy, and you'd move from trench to trench. But in between, there was just these fields where everything had been churned up. It was nothing but mud
Right.
and dirt and craters, and they called it no man's land.
Right.
And it was just a horrible. Near the end of the war, they were using gas a ton,
Right.
different kinds of gases. People were dying in trenches. It was hellish.
Terrible.
It was absolutely hellish.
Terrible.
But during Christmas 1914, all across the front, and this was totally unofficially, there was no formal command of any kind, but all these companies stopped fighting. And initially it started out as they would send emissaries across to arrange for the retrieval of bodies. So they would say, okay, we have a pause in the fighting, can we come and get this in? Both sides are not. Well, pretty soon they started exchanging cigarettes and candies, and then they were exchanging gifts. And something came about called the Christmas Truce, or in German, the Weihnachtsfrieden. And it happened all across the Western Front. And it wasn't just the English and the Germans, it was the French, and everybody participated in this, some more than others. Now, there were still a couple places where the fighting continued. There were some places where they just stopped fighting and didn't exchange
Right.
pleasantries, but in a lot of places they really did. And in Fighting Soon After Cup, there was reports of soccer games
Yeah.
or football
yeah,
games
yeah.
happening in no man's land between. They exchanged foods, they sat down and talked together, they were friendly, and for a couple days in the middle of this war during Christmas, all the fighting stopped. Everybody was remembering what Christmas was about. They were missing their families, and they couldn't stand that, and so they just wanted to be with somebody else.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
so there was all this camaraderie, and then a couple days later, they're at war again.
Yeah.
They're at war again, and so
one of the horrible
but in
things of
an
war.
amazing story. Now the interesting thing is, the next year, 1915, there was very few instances of this, but during the year, the commanders of these armies had sent very strongly worded messages to the troops about fraternization. Said this is absolutely not acceptable
Right.
by any means. And so the next year, it hardly happened at all, and it hasn't happened since. But, you know, just think about that, though, for a moment. Here you are, you're fighting a war,
Yeah.
and yet the guys who were at the front, the guys taking the bullets and eating the beans, they stop because they remember there's something more to this. If more people would think like that instead of ground, you know, it would be a much better place. And that's one of the things about Christmas that I love, is no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, Christmas means something more than just, you know, a time to go buy stuff.
Absolutely.
It really is a time for giving and sharing and being with other people and
just loving
remembering
people.
and loving people. And that's what Christmas is about. And so for this brief time in 1914, in the middle of this war, it was absolutely beautiful. And it was one of the really, really cool places.
So
really
let
cool
that
things to
inspire
happen.
you during this Christmas time.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter where you're at, no matter if you celebrate Christmas or not, just remember to love people.
Yeah.
And let's be kind and remember why we celebrate this season. The most amazing testament of love happened during this season, and that's why we celebrate it. So go out and love people.
Absolutely.
Just a reminder, new Christmas edition, or new Christmas decoration addition to the set every episode.
That's right.
Keep your eyes on it. You kind of get a pass this weekend because Jackie sort of ate it.
Yeah, the cat did help you find it today.
So lucky you. The other ones probably won't be so easy to find.
They're
but
going to get harder.
keep a track. Post all of the differences on the December 31st episode, and you will be entered to
Now,
win.
is it going to be the
merch.
first one to reply, or is it going to be the one with the most correct answers, or how's that going to work?
I'm going to draw randomly. So
You're going to
we'll
draw
see how
randomly. Okay,
many-
so from all the correct ones
all
that
the
we
correct
get.
answers. Yes, if you're
Okay.
not the first to reply, that's okay. Just get in your comment. I will draw randomly, and you could win a piece of Amazing Chris merch.
And I'm just going to say, this next year on Amazing Chris is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome merch. There's going to be cool new stuff happening.
Yeah,
so
we're actually-
stick around. It's going to be very, very cool.
It's pretty cool. We're working on some rebranding and stuff, so it's going to be a
Yeah,
good
we're
year.
going to roll it out. It's going to be dope, y'all.
But that is a discussion for another time.
That's right.
A vision casting episode that will happen shortly after the beginning of the year. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And
Merry
thank you for sharing
Christmas.
this video with all your friends. Let's go on an adventure.